Booziest men's designer fragrances, that's what I'm talking about today. I've got 11 fragrances on the list, plus 2 bonuses, all coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. And yes, today I'm talking about Booziest men's designer fragrances. This is a ranked video, and I do have 2 bonuses after the outro, whatever you want to call it. Those are fragrances that are not necessarily with boozy notes, but I get some booziness with them. Either way, I'll let you know what they are before I do. If this is your first time tuning in and you still haven't subscribed, please do click the subscribe button below and also click the bell so that you'll be notified for future videos and giveaways. So I'm a big fan of boozy fragrances. I like those warm, boozy, spicy kind of concoctions. I love to drink nice spirits and things like that. And I also love the style of booziness in fragrances. There's 11 here, as I said. We're going to start off with the first one. Going to the house of MAISON MARGIELA, Jazz Club. So Jazz Club is at number 11. I know a lot of you are fans of this one. You know, it's warm, spicy. It also features tobacco. It makes sense it's called Jazz Club because, you know, in the older days, jazz clubs, you were drinking and smoking and things like that. And, you know, you've got all these kind of unique notes in here featuring tobacco, rum, vanilla, Styrax, pink pepper, vetiver, clary, sage, neroli, and lemon. In the end, like I said, it's a boozy fragrance, very, very rummy, but also very, very ambery. There's resinous touches here, and then that tobacco. There's a little bit of a creamy consistency here, and the thing I don't like about this one, and that's why it's at number 11, is it doesn't really stand out as too much of a boozy fragrance or a tobacco fragrance. Everything is kind of blended in, so it smells nice. It's a pleasant smell, but it's not like an all-time favorite fragrance. So it's at number 11. It's a Jazz Club from the house of MAISON MARGIELA. All right, going to the house of MUGLER at number 10. It's Pure Malt. So I'm putting this in this list, but I'm not 100% sure what the status of this particular fragrance is. There's going to be another one coming up that's going to have kind of an uncertain status. But I know the fragrance is out there. It's at discounters and things like that. It might have even been brought back to the Mugler website. But this was one of my all-time favorite fragrances dating back to like 2011, even 2010. It's one of those great kind of flankers that kind of took the Mugler Amen DNA into kind of a boozy whiskey direction. So malt, whiskey, fruity notes, peat, patchouli, coffee, cedar, amber, musk, vanilla, and orange. It's just, you know, it smells really, really great. And I always say this when I talk about this particular fragrance. I go in and out of love with this one. Sometimes it kind of just is kind of boring. Sometimes it really smells great. I think my chemistry changes over time and things like that. Right now, I think it smells great because I haven't smelled it in a long time. But it'll be a time when I'm going to say this is kind of a boring fragrance. I do enjoy it more than Jazz Club, and I enjoyed it for a long time. I wore so many bottles of this one, and when I first discovered it, it was an amazing boozy experience because I was such a big fan of Mugler, and this was definitely one of the best flankers that I thought for the Amen DNA. So this is Pure Malt from the house of Mugler at number 10. Next, at number 9, going to the house of Carolina Herrera. This is CH Men Prive. And this is actually taking that CH Men DNA into a boozy direction. The original DNA of CH Men is sugar and leather together. And here we have the addition of whiskey. It's actually quite good. I just wish it was a little more dense, a little more oomphier, a little more beefier. But I like what it is. It's lots of leather, whiskey, cardamom, tonka beans, benzoin, woods, lavender, sage, thyme, grapefruit. Yes, you do notice the aromatics, lavender, sage, and the thyme. You do notice the booziness, and you do notice the spices and things like that. And it does have a little bit of an ambery, vanilla kind of a quality as well. It's a pleasant scent. Carolina Herrera, CH Men Prive. I do like it more than the original, but with this one I kind of go back and forth. Do I like the original more? Do I like the Prive more? It's a toss-up. Next fragrance, I just was going through this list to put this list together, and I noticed that I don't have a large bottle of this, and I just placed an order for 2 bottles because I don't know what the status of this particular fragrance is as well. Same thing with the Mugler Pure Malt. Mugler Pure Malt and Azzaro, I should just say, Mugler and Azzaro were under Clinique. Clinique sold them to L'Oreal. So Azzaro's Pour Homme Intense, Azzaro as a brand is under L'Oreal. I don't know what the status of this particular fragrance is. There were some discounted fragrances out there, so I decided to buy a couple bottles because I'm not sure what the status will be of this one, because it really is a phenomenal smell of the original Azzaro Pour Homme, more in a boozy direction and spices and ambery touches. So it's cinnamon, brandy, amber, tonka beans, and vetiver. So it's very, very spicy. I could also go to the extent of saying this is more like a holiday spice, but it does have that reminder of the original Azzaro Pour Homme, the classic men's fragrance that smells really, really great. Although it has been watered down from what it used to be, but, you know, as a kind of a nostalgic fragrance, the original is quite great. But this version, I think, is really, really a great, great flanker to the original. If you haven't sampled it and you like a boozy take on the Azzaro Pour Homme DNA, definitely try Azzaro Pour Homme Intense. It's such a lovely fragrance. Next fragrance, I'm going to the house of Lalique. This is L'Insoumis. So this is kind of like a boozy take on a fougere, a barbershop fragrance. That's really, really a delicious fragrance. This has notes of clary sage, basil, woody notes, rum, lavender, and vetiver. Once again with this one, it is a little on the light side, but the smell is fantastic. I like that there's a lot of aromatics in here, like clary sage and basil, and it reminds me of these European kind of elixirs, kind of like these, like, I don't know what the word is right now, I'm drawing a blank, but there's these liqueurs that have a lot of herbs and aromatics in them, and when you open up the bottle and you put your nose to it, you can smell the herbs and, along with the alcohol. That's kind of what this reminds me of, especially since this is like, you know, it's a fougere, like a barbershop fragrance, but featuring kind of a boozy note of rum. It's really, really delicious, just that it's a little on the light side. Wish it was a little more beefier, but it smells fantastic. So Lalique L'Insoumis is a great, great men's designer boozy fragrance. Next fragrance, it's Jean Varvatos Dark Rebel. Another fragrance that's a little has a little uncertainty. I think the brand's having some challenging times. So I don't know what the status of this particular fragrance is. Hopefully it's not discontinued, because it is a really, really great fragrance. I like that it's got these like woody notes, it's got ambery touches and things like that, and of course it's got the rum in here that's really, really wonderful. So it features woods, leather, tobacco, rum, and fir resin. So the fir resin is kind of reminding me a little bit of a kind of a classic fragrance, because I don't see it pop up in a lot of fragrances lately, but I like that contrast with the booziness of the rum, the tobacco-ish qualities, and of course the leathery touches. They did a flanker of this called Dark Rebel Rider, which they amplified the leather and it took it into a leather direction. Here I like the booziness with the kind of the fir note, or the, you know, like the pine kind of note with the leather, and then the tobacco-ish touches. It's a great scent. Dark Rebel from the house of John Varvatos is wonderful. Going to the house of Tumi with Continuum, a great launch from this year, and I'm surprised how great this fragrance is. After reviewing the initial 2 fragrances that launched for Tumi, this was actually really, really excellent compared to the others, because I wasn't much of a fan of the other 2, but this particular one I absolutely love. Not only tobacco, but there's a lot of boozy touches, and again it's got ambery warmth and resinous touches as well. So it features tobacco, suede leather, musk, amber, incense, labdanum, and boozy notes. So this is a really, really wonderful ambery experience. It's very, very warm and spicy, and that whole, you know, boozy tobacco kind of thing I really dig in fragrances, and I think they did a really, really great job with this one. When you were like, you know, said, okay, these are fine fragrances from the original launch of Tumi fragrances, this one actually went all the way, and they gave us something really, really wonderful. Really, like, kind of like putting them on the map for men's fragrances. Really a great fragrance. I think if you haven't sampled this one, you should definitely go sample it, because it smells really, really fantastic. And I love the whole warm, spicy, ambery, boozy tobacco kind of touches. So Tumi's Continuum is a great, great fragrance. And the next fragrance I'm going to talk to you about today is Cartier's Pacha de Cartier Perfume, which has the boozy notes in here. And this was also a great, great surprise from Cartier early last year, when they launched this after years and years of the initial fragrance, which launched in 90, I think. They launched this in 2020, so 30 years later they gave us a really, really great flanker of the original fragrance. And then taking it into more of a modern, you know, kind of a destination, but still kind of like making sure we know what the old one smells like. So it does kind of have classic touches, but I think it's very modern. It features sandalwood, liqueur note, balsam fir, tonka beans, benzoin, ambrosinide, patchouli, and labdanum. But really a great combination. You'll remember what the original smells like. In fact, I love the original, but this is definitely taking it into a warm, spicy, ambery direction with booziness and a little bit of like the ambroxan type ambrosinide note in here for a great wearing experience that kind of like gives the fragrance a longer lingering power. Wonderful fragrance. I really love it. Cartier is a great fragrance house for men's fragrances. If you don't know Cartier's fragrances, definitely should check it out. This is Cartier's Pacha de Cartier Parfum. Alright, 3 more fragrances left. The number 3 is going to the house of Guerlain, L'Homme Ideal Extreme. What a pleasant surprise this is. It's a great designer fragrance. In fact, this happens to be my favorite fragrance in this whole line. Really, really a great fragrance. It's turned out to be my favorite when the Eau de Parfum initially was my favorite. This actually even smells better to me than the Eau de Parfum does because it goes into a boozy direction once again. A really, really wonderful boozy direction. It's got almonds, plum tobacco, leather, cinnamon, heliotrope, patchouli, pink pepper, cedar, and boozy note. It's a great, great take on a kind of like the DNA of L'Homme Ideal, which focuses on almonds and tonka beans. So you do have the almondy touch in here, but you have this kind of fruity, it's almost like a plum liqueur kind of a note in here, contrasted with that kind of like lightly smoky, ashy tobacco note. There's a little bit of leather in here, so there's a little bit of a leathery touch. Of course, it's got spices and patchouli. Phenomenal smell for a designer fragrance. I think it's a great, great designer offering. Guerlain's technicality is really a designer. I'm putting it in this whole same category because their fragrances are similar to a lot of the signature fragrances from these designers. But a wonderful fragrance. Check it out. Guerlain's L'Homme Ideal Extreme at number 3. Number 2, going to the house of Dior. It's Fahrenheit Le Parfum. This was also a great surprise. It's a boozy surprise, taking that original Fahrenheit fragrance and taking it into kind of a gourmand, warm, spicy, boozy direction. That's really, really delicious. So this to me is vanillic with the violet leaf. The leather is in here. The gasoline, the gasoline type note or the petrol note in the original is removed, although it's been removed in the current version of the Eau de Toilette as well. But it's a really, really wonderful ozonic and leathery vanillic boozy fragrance featuring vanilla, violet leaves, suede leather, rum, licorice. Beautiful fragrance. In fact, it is so warm and spicy, I think women can totally get away with wearing this one. Fahrenheit Le Parfum. Wonderful, wonderful fragrance. Although it used to be called Le Parfum, I think it's just called Fahrenheit Parfum now. And then my number 1 favorite, you probably already guessed it, it's Bentley for Men Intense. One of the best boozy fragrances on the market for men as a designer fragrance. It smells really, really great. I love this fragrance. In fact, it wears beautifully on me. It starts beautifully and then it ends beautifully. And the dry down on here, the end, is even better than the initial sprays too. It's that kind of a great fragrance. It's incense, leather, benzoin, rum, black pepper, patchouli, woodsy notes, cinnamon, and cedar for a delicious, delicious fragrance wearing experience. It's a great warm, spicy fragrance, of course. It's got the woods, the resins, the ambery touches, and the booziness that I really, really can't get enough of. So that is Bentley for Men Intense. That's at number 1. Those are the 11 fragrances ranked today. What do you think about these fragrances? Are you fans of these fragrances? And if you had this entire collection, how would you rank this list? Or give me your top 5 from the ones I featured in this video. And also, please let me know, are there any fragrances I should check out from the designers that are boozy, that are worth checking out? I'm very picky when it comes to designer fragrances, so let me know what they are, and I'll definitely go check them out, smell them or something. Either way, guys, thanks so much for watching today's video. These are great fragrances to wear during the holidays, and the holidays are coming up. I really think these warm, spicy, kind of boozy fragrances are perfect, especially since what we're doing, we're getting together with family and drinking booze, right? Anyway, thanks so much for watching today's video. If you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video, please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Alright, 2 more fragrances I'm going to let you know about. These are not necessarily ultra boozy or feature boozy notes, but I get some booziness from them. This is Rocha Moustache EDP. Yes, there's a little bit of a booziness in here, but it's mostly a warm, spicy, kind of vanillic, ambery fragrance. Features vanilla, pink pepper, benzoin, cedar, rose, mandarin orange, and patchouli. It's a great, great fragrance. Sadly, the fragrance never got its debut here in the States. Mostly you can get them from the discounters, but I think if you like warm, spicy, kind of lightly boozy fragrances, definitely check out Moustache. This is the EDP version, not the original. The original is still selling. They relaunched it when they launched this. They're completely different fragrances. Make sure you get the EDP if you like it warm, spicy, and lightly boozy. So that's Rocha Moustache EDP. Last fragrance is a cheapie, and I'm going to mention it because I get booziness from it. This is Animal Animal for Men from Animal Animal. Yeah, it's probably, we can find it for about 18-20 bucks. And it kind of, I think, I mean, if you ever want to find out the history of this fragrance, I have a whole video shot with someone that was involved with the launching of this fragrance. You can go just search for Animal Animal. I think what happened with this brand is when they launched this particular brand and their fragrances, I personally think they were inspired by Mugler's fragrances, especially Angel, because this launched in '94 and Angel came out in '92. In '96 or '97 they launched Amen, and even though this doesn't smell like Amen, I could see the inspiration of Angel in here, but in a more masculine way. To me, this does remind me a little bit of Pure Malt and Pure Havane combined together. That's why I'm featuring it here, because it does have some booziness. It's honey, pineapple, vanilla, tobacco, patchouli, amber, nutmeg, lavender, sandalwood, musk, and lime. It's really, really a great fragrance for the fact that it's really, really cheap. It's really, really inexpensive. And if you're on a budget and you were trying to afford all these fragrances, you can't, or you can't even afford one of them. A lot of them are at discounters, but if you are really, really on a budget, looking for something around 20 bucks, and you want boozy, definitely check out Animal Animal for Men. And as I said, if you want to find out the history of this fragrance, go type Animal Animal on the channel, and you'll learn all about Animal Animal and how it launched in the world. Anyway, thanks so much for watching today's video. I appreciate it. Have a great, great week. Bye-bye.